This is freaking out, and I'm not sure why. Any day now. Alright, done. Okay. Hello world. It's Monday, January the 21st, 2019. Present time, 10:15 p.m. And, well, you may be wondering, hey, Yeti, what are you doing up so late? Or how come it took you so long to start the broadcast tonight? Well, one, I didn't get back to campus until 5:30ish. Later. It was probably like 6 o'clock by the time I got back to campus. And while in the dining hall today, something unusual happened to me. I want to pull something up real quick. These pillars. History of columns, the statement of values. Something about my university. University of Missouri. There are these 6 columns on the main quad. I need a mute. 6 columns on the main quad. And these are famous. They've been around for a long time. The universal statement of values. And the values are as follows: respect, responsibility, discovery, and excellence. Now, there's this one line I'm looking for. Well, I'm not finding it exactly. Respect, responsibility, discovery, and excellence. No matter. I recall reading somewhere here. They talked about this warmth over here. You know, this idea of community, establishing a strong community. You know, hey, over here we're friends and gonna look out for one another. And it's not uncommon for people to, you eating alone, ask you to join them, right? And I've eaten myself many times here. On like the vast majority of meals I've dined alone, and usually just sitting, observing the main entrance to the place. And not once has anybody else invited me to go. I've invited myself sometimes. But not once has anybody else invited me to go sit with them or ask, hey, can I sit with you? Until tonight. These 2 girls, as I was at the end of my meal, asked if they could sit with me. And maybe they thought I was taking off soon, maybe not. But I said, sure. You know, you're welcome to. Turns out they were international students. This young man sat next to me as well. The young guy was from Pakistan. Girls, the one was from, I'm drawing a blank. I can do this. It's a bit of a country. Like, I haven't met many people from there. I'm struggling to remember, even though it should be easier to remember. She was from Moldova. And the other one was from Sri Lanka. And later, this other young man joined. He's from Brazil. So suddenly, I find myself surrounded by this like really eclectically international group, and I had a lot of fun because they were all coming in as exchange students or sponsored in some way, a semester abroad. landing here in Columbia, Missouri. They have a maximum of 12 credit hours they can take. They've got to do 20 hours of community service as well. It's just part of the program. So I had a really delightful time chatting with them. And I ended up walking with a young man. We went downtown and picked up a pack of smokes. For him, it had been like a month since he last smoked a cigarette. But, we had a smoke each and just kind of walked around. I just talked about the town a bit, sharing what local expertise I've got. It's really quite a fulfilling experience. And I'm excited. Like, I exchanged contact information with, so became Facebook friends with a young lady from Sri Lanka, exchanged WhatsApp contact with the one from Moldova, Instagram with the young man from Pakistan, and then the Brazilian will just leave alone. We'll see. But it's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting. Because I like the international guys. They're more my people, if you will. Even though I hold a U.S. passport, it's expired. Fuck. Speaking of which, I gotta get that thing renewed. Anyways, that's it. That's it, really. Work is fun. Still getting set up. We had a stand-up meeting this morning. Everybody just kind of shares briefly what they've been working on, and I contributed. Well, I'm set up and ready to go. I spent a bit of time today playing around with, just looking at some code. Python. One of the guys, in fact, two of them have brought this up with me. Need for optimization, refactoring of code in order to make it execute faster. And, it's like, hey, I'm no computer scientist, but I have some understanding of how these building blocks come together. And so I started investigating. And, the one takes about 11 minutes to execute. It's fairly simple, but it took me a while just staring at it. Ultimately, I asked the guy who wrote it, okay, can you break it down for me what it's doing here? There's a lot going on inside of this one-liner. I don't like that. I don't like that one bit. But we'll figure it out. As I get set up, I'll start to pitch in a bit more. Otherwise, all I did today was made a minor revision to the presentation of a formula that's going to be coming up in a presentation to stakeholders in a week, 2 weeks. Something big. The very first step of something that could ultimately propagate across the entire organization in all customer-facing roles. Pretty interesting shit. I was told this is a bit of a hush-hush project. I shouldn't talk about it, so I won't share too many details, not until it's out and live. But it's really, really exciting to be able to have the opportunity to do that. It's not necessarily massively impactful, but it's something. It's definitely something that will have the opportunity to see the light of day, and that's good. It's really good. There's a young lady that was also inside of the MBA program, first-year student. Her name's Paige. Can't remember where she's from, Wisconsin, I think. She was interviewing at the company today, and I know of her. She's kind of cute. She's got a boyfriend though. But yeah, she came by the company. She interviewed with one of the guys, Patrick. And I saw her sitting in the huddle room with the guy across the table, and I waved. Hey. So far I've been having fun. Been enjoying myself. I wanted to do this reading tonight, because time is tight. It's really just I have time in the evenings to at least do the reading, make sure that any content that's about to fall off the VOD system gets archived, so I don't lose the original high def version, and that's really it. That's really it. I wish I had more time. I'm very seriously considering whether I ought to start looking for So I'm like a personal assistant. You know, like I have a little bit of money. Maybe it makes sense to start now. Okay, let me pull this up. Kaylee list. Hi. Sorry I missed you. I was monologuing. It's just one of the things I do. For following. I don't know what inspired you to do that, but much obliged. This year I'm making a serious effort to hit Mixer Partner. I think it's possible by the end of the year. But if I have my way, finish and start. If I have my way, happen, let's say 3/4 through the year. That's ambitious, especially looking at the numbers right now, like roughly halfway there on the follow account. I do believe, wild as that might be. Anyhow, let's get started. Time's ticking. Hey, wait, something's wrong. No, nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong. I don't think anything's wrong. Let's test. Did that come through? All right. Insight by Tasha Eurich. Insight from 2017 takes you on a journey from self-blindness to self-awareness, a highly valuable but surprisingly absent skill. Author Tasha Eurich explains what self-awareness is and why it's a crucial quality to have. She identifies various obstacles to becoming self-aware and provides strategies to overcome them. Who should read this? Individuals who'd like to gain more self-awareness. Anyone coping with peers who lack self-awareness. And the leaders who want to build a self-aware and successful team. Who wrote the book? Dr. Tasha Eurich is a researcher, organizational psychologist, and best-selling author. She had a PhD in industrial organizational psychology from Colorado State University. Eurich's work has been published in peer-reviewed journals, and she has contributed to the Huffington Post, Entrepreneur, and CNBC.com. Eurich was named a top 100 thought leader by Trust Across America and a leader to watch by the American Management Association. Her 2014 X Mile High Talk has been viewed over 1 million times. What's in it for me? Find yourself without trekking through the Himalayas. Self-awareness is a uniquely human quality, but it's something few of us truly have. And that's a shame, because it's an extremely useful tool in our personal and professional lives. Being familiar with our own feelings and being aware of how others see us is crucial to successfully navigating social situations, both at home and at work. This book will teach you to recognize damaging thoughts and behaviors in yourself and others. Step by step, you will learn how to deal with your emotions and how to request and receive feedback in order to make positive changes. And it's not just about individual self-improvement. You'll realize that self-awareness is a group activity which will help the entire team work better together. In this book, you'll find out what naming your child Lux might say about your self-perception, how taking 5 minutes today can improve your entire day tomorrow, and that if your partner doesn't pick up on romantic cues now, they'd probably never. Self-awareness is the ability to understand who we are and what others think of us, and it consists of 7 insights. Self-awareness is one of the more remarkable features that set humans apart from animals. Some 150,000 years ago, the brain of Homo sapiens developed in a way that led our ancestors to begin examining their own behavior, thoughts, and emotions. In this way, self-awareness was born. Self-awareness is defined as the ability to know oneself and be conscious of how others see us. Psychologists separate self-awareness into two categories: internal and external. Internal self-awareness is about knowing ourselves, being conscious of our likes and dislikes, our ambitions, our place in the environment, and our impact on other people. External self-awareness has to do with understanding how other people see us. It's about being able to look at ourselves from an outside perspective. Surprisingly, scientific research shows there's hardly any relationship between internal and external self-awareness. But research has found a relationship between a person's happiness and how self-aware they are. People who have both internal and external self-awareness are able to make better decisions, have stronger professional and personal relationships, are more successful, and more creative. So, how do we develop self-awareness? To be fully self-aware requires 7 types of insight, the first of which involves insight into our values. Our values are the principles guiding how we live our lives. Examples of these include honesty, humility, and fairness. The second and third insights are our passions and aspirations, which are concerned with discovering the things we love doing and what our life goals are. Fit is the fourth insight. It involves understanding which environment will make us happiest, keep us engaged, and enable us to thrive. Then come patterns, the consistent behaviors that make up our personality. We must understand how we think, feel, and act in various situations. The sixth insight refers to our reaction, the emotional and physical behaviors we exhibit in certain circumstances. For example, our ability to control our feelings under stress. And the final insight is impact, understanding how our own behavior affects others. Inner and societal roadblocks disrupt the journey to self-awareness. It's not uncommon to encounter the kind of boss who truly believes they're a visionary leader when everybody else in the office just sees an incompetent jerk. This is because many people are utterly delusional about their own abilities. But how does this come about? The author believes there are 3 inner roadblocks to self-awareness: knowledge blindness, emotional blindness, and behavior blindness. Knowledge blindness occurs when you assess your competencies not on how you actually perform, but on general beliefs about how you should perform. An experiment conducted by American psychologist David Dunning demonstrates this well. Participants were asked to take a geography test. Those who thought they were generally good at geography believed they had scored particularly highly, even though, as a group, their score was average. Emotional blindness is being oblivious to your own feelings. Say somebody asks you how happy you are. You may think your answer is rational based on an evaluation of your circumstances, but in all likelihood, how you respond will be a gut decision made in that moment. Behavior blindness is the failure to see your own behavior through the eyes of others. The author gives the example of a talk she once delivered. She thought it had been a disaster. However, it turned out that the audience loved it, proven by the fact that she had a record number of sign-ups to her monthly newsletter. And it's not only these 3 obstacles that get in the way. The cult of self in our society is another barrier to self-awareness. Have you ever wondered why there's a growing craze for novel names in America? Names like Isander, Lux, or Sharpay. These are examples of a growing cult of self, where people become convinced that they, and therefore their children, are special. It's part of the age of esteem that we're entering, where everybody thinks they're unique. But be careful. You may feel special, but that doesn't make you superior. If you behave as if you're better than everybody else, you'll soon find yourself the object of other people's resentment, and you'll find it challenging to cope with even minor mistakes you make. When people are steeped in self-delusion, they are usually the last to find out. Introspection isn't a sure path to insight, so we need to do it right. If we spend enough time and effort navel-gazing, we'll eventually come to understand ourselves, right? Not necessarily. Yes, examining our thoughts, emotions, and habits can lead to greater self-awareness, but the wrong type of introspection can have the opposite effect. In fact, there's even research that shows self-analyzers have higher levels of anxiety, less positive relationships, and a lower opinion of themselves. The problem is that while we may be quick to grasp at any insights gained from self-analysis, we don't often question their validity. So, how can we use introspection to become more self-aware? For introspection to be successful, we need to have a flexible mindset. When we accept that we may not find one definite answer, we can let our curious mind wander and explore various perspectives. Another common mistake people make is to ask themselves why they are the way they are. They look for the causes of their thought patterns and behavior. But the human brain is lazy and often just presents us with the most convenient answer. Therefore, it's more helpful to ask what kind of person we are. What do we feel and think and do in any given situation? The benefit of asking what rather than why is that we begin to put names to our emotions. Research shows that when we name our feelings, especially the less positive ones, we're in a better position to recognize them rather than letting them set off a fight or flight response. When it comes to positive thoughts, we should be aware of the risk of overanalyzing. When we try to rationalize our positive experiences, we're in danger of taking the joy out of them. Lastly, watch out for introspection's evil twin, rumination. The author defines rumination as a fixation on our anxieties, weaknesses, and insecurities. Not only does this prevent us from gaining insight, it could have damaging consequences, including depression. We can't always trust what we see when we look inward. 3 mindfulness techniques can increase internal self-awareness. What do you think of when you hear the word meditation? If you're anything like the author, you might feel intimidated by the thought of yoga mats, incense, and chanting. But it's nothing to be scared of. For millennia, meditation has helped people increase their self-awareness, and you don't have to become a monk or make a grand lifestyle change to do it. The author suggests 3 alternative techniques to increase your mindfulness and, with it, your internal self-awareness. It's easy to confuse introspection and rumination with mindfulness, but they're opposites. Rather than analyzing and judging our thoughts, mindfulness encourages you to notice them without judgment. By taking this approach, you'll begin to make new observations about yourself and improve your self-awareness. You may even improve your happiness, health, and productivity, as many people who practice mindfulness find. The first technique is called reframing. Reframing is all about looking at the bigger picture of your experiences. For example, if you lose your job, you might fixate on what you have lost. To reframe this experience, you would also focus on what you could gain from it. Perhaps you realize that you become stuck in a career rut, and that you're now free to find new opportunities, or even start your own business. Another technique is called comparing and contrasting. It involves noticing how our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors have remained the same or changed over time. It's a mindfulness technique that the author herself has used. 2 years into her second job, she began to get restless. When she thought back to how she'd felt 2 years into her last job, The author realized she felt the same way this time. She was then able to recognize that the problem wasn't her current job, but an internal pattern that made her feel this way. Why not try this technique yourself? Ask yourself questions about your job and relationships. What has remained the same? And what is different from past jobs or relationships? The third mindfulness technique is the daily check-in. Take 5 minutes each day to reflect on what went well and what could have been better. Is there anything you can learn from your experience today that you can improve on tomorrow? Two major roadblocks obstruct the path to external self-awareness, but there are ways to circumvent them. If you want to know how other people think of you and gain external self-awareness, you might think it's as easy as asking friends and family directly. But that's where the trouble begins. The people closest to you won't be honest about how they see you. The author calls this the mum effect. It means we keep mum about undesirable messages. We tend to remain silent rather than giving others information that will make them feel uncomfortable. Sometimes we even tell white lies rather than the truth, and this is the first roadblock to self-awareness. The second roadblock is our reluctance to ask for feedback. We tend to make excuses, which fall into 3 categories. First, we convince ourselves we don't need feedback. That's plain incorrect. In fact, how other people see us is just as important when it comes to achieving self-awareness as how we view ourselves. The second excuse we make is that we shouldn't ask for feedback because surely it's a sign of weakness. But just think, if somebody asked you for feedback, would you see it as a sign of incompetence in that person? Or would you respect their efforts to better themselves? Leaders who ask for critical feedback are seen as more effective. And the final excuse is that we don't want feedback. We're afraid of feeling hurt by others' comments, and for that, we need to have courage. It's easier said than done, but once you're aware of these barriers and you're ready to overcome them, there are several ways to do so. One way is to ask for 360-degree feedback. As the name suggests, this would involve asking everyone from colleagues and managers to clients and board members to fill out a feedback form. One benefit of this technique is anonymity, which allows people to be honest. On the flip side, people who are jealous or resentful may take it as an opportunity to let off steam. To get around this, ask only those who you trust to be fair and truthful. To gain true insight, you need to learn how to react to feedback. So, you finally plucked up the courage to ask your colleagues for feedback. Great. Only they say you seem overconfident. Your first instinct might be to get snarky with them, or to dismiss or deny what they've said, but that's not helpful. So, what is the best way to process feedback? To digest your feedback into something you can use to gain insight, you need to learn how to receive, reflect, and respond to comments. This is called the 3R model. Let's start with receiving feedback. In order to receive feedback successfully, you must first ensure that you've understood it correctly. If you're unsure, ask for clarification. Ask colleagues to explain further what they mean by overconfident, with examples if possible. Then you can start to reflect. The following 3 questions can guide this process of reflection. Can I relate to this feedback? How will this feedback affect me in the long run, in terms of my success and my well-being? Should I act on this feedback? You also need to consider how you might act on the feedback. Perhaps you should consult more colleagues before committing to changing your behavior, or you should choose to frame your perceived overconfidence as a strength rather than a weakness. There are 2 other general points to keep in mind when receiving feedback. First, when you receive harsh feedback that confirms a view you already had of yourself, that you're a poor team player or an ineffective leader, it's tempting to shut down completely. To counter these feelings, try self-affirmation. Before you receive any feedback, remind yourself of your positive qualities. It might be as simple as reminding yourself that you're a loyal friend and loving family member. Second, you should acknowledge that although it's worth making the effort to change your behavior, there's some aspects of your personality that you cannot change. Say you're really bad at reading other people's emotions and intentions. Particularly if it's something you've already tried to improve, but you just can't seem to do it as well as others, it's sometimes best to accept it. Be open about your weakness and communicate it clearly so that others will understand. To build a self-aware team, follow the 5 pillars of insight. Self-awareness isn't just a useful quality for an individual to possess. It can exist on a collective level, too. So, how can a team of people become self-aware? Just like a self-aware individual, a self-aware team knows itself and knows how others see it. To achieve this, a team must develop 5 areas of insight, which the author calls the 5 cornerstones of collective insight. These cornerstones are objectives, progress, process, assumptions, and individual contributions. Any self-aware team must regularly assess how well it's performing in each area. By asking the right questions and examining issues from all possible angles, the team can become more efficient and effective. What sort of questions might a team ask to gain insights with these 5 cornerstones? Take objectives. When assessing its objectives, a team must ask itself what its most important goal is. Is it more important to increase sales, or is it more important to focus on the company's environmental impact, for example? Assessing progress is perhaps the most straightforward. The team might ask, how many units have we sold? Or, how many new clients have we gained? To evaluate its process, a team should focus on the way it's currently working and look for areas of improvement. This could involve questioning how effective the marketing strategy is, or even the format of internal meetings. As you've already learned, it's just as important to be aware of how others see you, and this is no different for teams. That's where assumptions come in. Assumptions are the judgments made about a brand by outsiders. A self-aware team will take the time to understand how its work is viewed by others and consider how to build and improve on its image. Finally, a team can gain insight through evaluating individual contributions. This can be done by considering which team members are having the most impact. To develop your team's self-awareness even further, follow the 3 guideposts. If you really want to go the extra mile when building your self-aware team, there are 3 more general areas to consider: role models, psychological safety nets, and a culture of evaluation. Any self-aware team needs a role model. This person should be a leader who can communicate their principles clearly and, crucially, act upon those principles. Psychologists have a name for such behavior: authentic leadership. They have observed that when leaders are open and genuine about their own performance and how it measures against their own standards, it encourages other members of the team to be honest, too. This allows the entire team to reflect on the 5 cornerstones of insight truthfully. As well as good leadership, a self-aware team needs a psychological safety net. That means cultivating an atmosphere in which any member of the team feels safe asking for help. A supportive environment also encourages team members to admit failures and raise criticism without fear of negative repercussions. Finally, though following the pillars of insight will help your team gain self-awareness, it's important to remember this is not a one-off solution. The process of being self-aware should be ongoing and built into the team's culture. A great example of this can be seen at computer animation company Pixar. President Ed Catmull introduced a regular day of honesty called Notes Day, which encourages employees to think about any issues the company might be facing with complete honesty. There are three kinds of delusional people. You don't have to look far to find an example of a deluded individual. We've all seen the angry, aggressive boss who thinks his approach to leadership is the only way, or the partner completely oblivious to obvious relationship cues. The author calls these people unself-aware, and how we deal with an unself-aware person depends on the type of delusion they have. There are three kinds of delusional people: the lost cause, the aware don't care, and the nudgeable. The lost causes really hold on to their delusion. They have beliefs that cannot be shaken, and they cannot conceive of any opinion other than their own. As you might have guessed, these people can't be changed. You can only minimize the negative impact they might have on our own success and happiness by realizing that the problem is theirs, not yours, and be conscious of how you react to their behavior. The aware don't care is a person who knows exactly how their behavior impacts others, but couldn't care less. Again, the best way to deal with these people is to manage our own reactions, as any attempt to change such people is doomed to fail. The author has adopted a technique called the laugh track. Her former boss used to make cruel comments toward her. Whenever he did this, rather than cry, she would imagine a laugh track behind his words, which made the experience bearable and sometimes even amusing. The third delusional person is the nudgeable. Finally, a person we can change, at least in a small way. Nudgeables are open to other people's opinions. The problem is that they're totally oblivious to what those opinions are. It then falls to you to help the unself-aware by letting them know how others see them. This enables them and the team to become more self-aware and successful at work and at home. Final summary. The key message in this book. Self-awareness is the ability to know our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors and understand what others think of us. It's a vital skill in today's professional and personal environment, but one that we often lack. This is due to both internal and external societal roadblocks. The good news? The more aware you are of these obstacles, the more easily they can be overcome. Actionable advice. Rather than a me-former, become an informer. Most of us use social media platforms Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. And research shows that those who use social media generally fall into one of two categories. Me-formers, who make up about 80% of users and who mostly post information about themselves, and informers, who comprise of about 20% of users and who post information that isn't immediately related to themselves. The issue is, if we always only post about ourselves, we aren't engaging and connecting with others. So, if you're one of the 80%, try to suppress a little vanity and become an informer. Move from self-absorption to self-awareness by posting less about yourself and more about the world around you. Suggested further reading. How to Be a Boss by Lily Singh. How to Be a Boss from 2017 offers major insights on how to achieve success in life. Drawing on first-hand knowledge from her rise to stardom, Lily Singh, the YouTube sensation, covers topics such as motivation and discipline, and rounds them off with personal anecdotes and practical tips. What an interesting username. Mr. Moneybags. And wow, this user's been around a long time. I don't know if the other one's still here. Hell, I don't know if anybody's still here. Alright, so I'm gonna make some notes tonight and kill it soon. It's presently 10:55, so I've been at this for what? It's already been 40 minutes. Okay, I messed up on my dating. It's actually the 21st right now, and this was the 20th, and this was the 20th, and this was the 20th, and I think that I need to go back over my records in order to figure out where I started goofing, but I missed a day. I didn't broadcast on one of these days. I can't remember which one it was. It's not too important. Oh yeah, I have the information right in front of me. It's ended at... We started at... Okay, so I've got to pull this and just keep on plugging and chugging. 1917. Okay, so it was the 18th that I didn't broadcast. Meaning this was actually from the 19th, and this was the 19th, and that should fix it. So we fix this. This is the 19th, and this is the 20th. And that should be a wrap. Okay. So let's go and figure out what's falling off the system. I could really use some help with this. Like, dude, I just don't have enough hours right now. Gotta focus on what's important, I guess. And like sometimes be willing to just say, nope, can't do it right now. Tell people like, yeah, I'd love to hang out, but I just can't right now. Got other things going on. I've got to attend to this. Like the broadcasting and all is it's fun, but just the same, it's actually, yeah, it's been a real pleasure. You know, like it's actually been quite useful for me. It's affected how I approach some novel situations, giving me more confidence. It takes me back to the days where I was, after I quit my MBA program. Okay, so that's already been exported. Let's see if this is correct. Let's see if this is correct. So 55, 7:30, 55. Daylight edition correct. And then there was a whole evening, and I just like I played till super late. I was up for a really, really long time. 11:24. That's when Kussah left. Dude, I don't even like. I have these two things, and I don't know when Kussah showed up. Let's test this though. Maybe it's this in any event, hey, that's so useful. I love it. How simple I've made things. But good God, I could use help with this shit. Alright, just double checking that I have this. Manager edits. Take a look at this. And it should resolve correctly. If it has, then I'm a little more relaxed. Great thinkers from the School of Life Library. And let's see if it's actually out there in the world. It is. It's on YouTube. I already pushed it there. So I have another sequence here. I think this is where Kussah shows up. Let's see. No, it wasn't. No. Like playing all by myself. So, Kussah actually showed up on that day in the afternoon. So if we do this, and then copy pasta, this should take me to the right spot. Just verifying. And, okay, so I'm just standing there. And then if I move forward just a little bit, boom, there he is. Perfect. Wonderful. I'm telling you, it's things have gotten a lot easier, a lot smoother, but it's still one of those deals where if I can get some help, it will make a big difference in my little life. It'll free up my time to be able to make these iterative improvements faster. I've seen these little glimmers of hope that the Huel has reached a critical mass, but it's still in a bit of a shaky spot. And I don't know if we're really there yet. It's like, today I think this morning I pinged Harlow. He chatted a little bit inside of this entrepreneurship channel a few days ago, and then I pinged him today to see if he'd elaborate, and he did. And that was pretty cool. So he shared more about what it was that he's looking to do, and we're almost there. I mean, it's about getting people with the right skill sets. Like, I'm ready to keep going. I've got at least 2 people that I can bring on board. Not to work with me, but as clients. And they're pretty good. From here, it's just like making sure I have the right people around me, the right mix of talents, and it should be a lot of fun. Should be able to have some fun and make some money in the process. Anyways, yeah, we'll see how things go this new day. I'm gonna just push this stuff off to the side for now. Attend to it when I can. There's always more to be done. It'll probably pile up a little bit during the week. I'm starting to do it already. I realize I need something. now, I may as well never get around to it. It worked. I pulled it off. Now I've got clean underwear on. And nobody saw nothing. Wonderful. Alright. Anyhow, I think that's it. Confirmed that much at least. Well, yeah. If I have downtime, maybe if I have some downtime during the workday, if I'm not like studying, gaining new skills in this domain, I may very well invest some time into further tightening the bolts around here, because it's been a while since I've actually been able to invest time into tightening the process. And I know the time invested into tightening the process around here is useful. It's the process, it's lining up the assets so that I can launch this new thing, this new venture. Making sure I've got all systems in place. It's going to take a lot of time, a lot of energy. We'll see what happens. We'll have to see. Anyways, it's just past 11 o'clock now. 11:07 p.m. I've got to head to bed so I can get my 8 hours or thereabouts. Thanks for tuning in. I know it's really short. It's like that sometimes, though. You know? I wish I had more time, really. But not to worry. I'll get to that point again. Hopefully in the not too distant future. For now, take care wherever you are. Catch you again soon. Bye-bye.